Elections do have consequences, especially when it comes to voting rights and voter suppression. After 2020, on cue, about 20 different Republican states passed laws that, there's no other way to put it, are in favor of voter suppression, making it harder for people, especially black and brown people in those states, to vote. They targeted black and brown people to try to hold down the vote, setting up barriers to entry to voting, where we should be having open, free, and secure elections. And now Pam Bondi, who is the Department of Justice's highest officer as the Attorney General, has ordered her Department of Justice and its Civil Rights Division, headed by Harmeet Dillon, to dismiss a 4-year-old Biden case in court against the state of Georgia that argued that its new mail-in ballot and other election day changes were nothing more than voter suppression. That case now has to be dismissed by the Department of Justice, because this administration is in favor of voter suppression. I'm not. I'm Michael Popok. You're on the MeidasTouch Network. And of course, on Legal AF in June of 2021, Joe Biden, his Attorney General Merrick Garland, and its civil rights and voter integrity protection units filed lawsuits against various states, led by Georgia, who the lesson they learned after 2020 was, let's hold down the vote for black and brown people. Let's make it harder. They use mail-in ballots. We'll attack mail-in ballots. They asked for mail ballots. We'll attack the use of mail ballots. We'll attack the use of mail ballot drop boxes. We'll make voting harder. We'll shorten the days for early voting. We'll change the locations where you can early vote. Let's not make it easy to vote. Let's make it incredibly hard. This has nothing to do with security or fraud about the vote. See, that's the lie that the Republicans tell people. We're not trying to suppress the vote. We're shortening days for early voting. We're shortening ways to early vote. We're making mail-in ballots harder. We're taking away drop boxes. We're doing it for you. Because security and fraud. What fraud? Every election that's been evaluated, the top number I've ever seen is 0.0003%. 0.0003% of votes are fraudulent. Every election has somebody voting their dead grandmother's ballot, or voting in the wrong precinct, or voting in the wrong state, including by Republicans. But that doesn't mean you make it harder for the person to vote. In enlightened countries around the world that are democracies, you vote like at an ATM machine during a month-long process. Here in America, everybody's got to vote on Tuesday, Election Day. Why? The law that was originally challenged properly under the Voting Rights Act and other civil rights due process laws was SB 201 in Georgia. But other states, 19 or 20 other states, had a very similar law on the books. In Georgia, you had to show an ID to get a mail-in ballot. Look, you're already signing the mail-in ballot under a penalty of perjury. Why do you have to show an ID and go through a process? And you can't do it online. Got to go down and show the ID. And a lot of people work for a living and more than one job, and that's hard. I voted in New Jersey this year when I lived there. I didn't have to show an ID. They said, oh, let me find you. Oh, you're on this precinct. You sign in here. Okay, you've been voting every year since you're 18. Sign in here. Do I have to show ID? No, you don't, sir. Just sign here where it says under penalty of perjury. That's you. That's good enough for us. No longer. Make it harder. So not only did they take away, at one time there were, in the metropolitan Atlanta area, give you an example, there were about 100 drop boxes you could mail in, you could drop your mail-in ballot in, boom, during the week. It dropped to 23 from 90. Shorten the hours, make it harder on people, right? The other thing they did besides voter ID related to mail-in ballots, they took away the right for groups to give water and food online to people who had to wait 6, 8, 10, 12 hours to vote. Can't help them. Don't help them. Make it hard. Donald Trump just passed an executive order, wrote an executive order. It's not really a law, but his aspirational goal is that all ballots must be received on Election Day. Why? If they're stamped before, why isn't that good enough? It's good enough for every other federal government. What if you're a veteran? What if you're in the military? What if you're overseas and your ballot shows up late? You've just been disenfranchised by the Trump administration. What if you don't have that piece of documentation that shows you're a citizen? Maybe you don't have the real ID with the flag on it that you waited in line for. Maybe you don't have a passport. What are you going to show them? Your birth certificate? Go dig that out. Make it hard. Make it hard. Barriers to voting. Soon as the Republicans figured out the black and brown people voted a certain way, that's the way that they went after to try to regulate. And the Biden administration and Merrick Garland said, not on our watch. Now, unfortunately, because federal cases move so slowly, I mean, the Trump ones don't, but in general, they move so slowly. This has been kicking around since June of 2021. We're going on a 4-year mark. So it was around long enough and hadn't moved far enough that Pam Bondi could give an order to her Civil Rights Division to tell them to dismiss the case. She's going to dismiss all the cases. It's a joke. Harmeet Dillon heading the division of the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice is a joke. She has no more interest in the real civil rights of black and brown people than fill in the blank. I don't want to be too rude. Elections have consequences. I know people are sitting around wondering, what will happen if we vote for Trump, or if we don't vote in large enough numbers for Kamala Harris. Well, this is what happens. You change the face of our justice system. You get Supreme Court justices you're not going to like. You get results in the Supreme Court you're not going to like. You get federal judges appointed that you're not going to like. You get policy created that you're not going to like. You get cases dismissed that undermine civil rights and civil liberties and voting rights that you're not going to like. That is why we push so hard for people to vote. Hold your nose. You may not like, I didn't like Kamala. Who cares? It's not the Bachelorette. It's not like who you want to go out on a date with, or you want to share a beer with. Who's going to protect our values, our morals, our rule of law? Who's going to protect who we are as Americans? Is that who we are as Americans? We kidnap and deport people in the middle of the night and send them to a notorious El Salvadorian prison, never to be seen from again without due process? That's our America? We dismiss cases to uphold the voting rights of fellow Americans who happen to be black or brown. That's what we do. I mean, Pam Bondi must have a special glee, when she comes to work every day. No. What puppies can she make a fur coat out of today? That's where we're at. We're going to continue to call it out right here on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. Come on over to Legal AF, the YouTube channel there as well. Hit the free subscribe button. Help us continue our march towards 1 million subscribers before our 1-year anniversary or birthday. It's coming. We just passed the odometer over 500,000 recently. Got some great new contributors, including Dave Arenberg just joined me on Legal AF, the YouTube channel, Legal AF MTN, and of course, Legal AF, the podcast, top 10 in the world in what we do at the intersection of law and politics on the MeidasTouch, #1 MeidasTouch YouTube channel. All because of you. We are humbled by your support and what we're trying to build, making our journey and your journey kind of coextensive. So until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the MeidasTouch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.